Thank you all for attending. I appreciate it. My name is Chris Clausing. I am the Director of Government Programs for CEI. And today we're going to be discussing uh, AI, one of my favorite subjects of all time, AI on the job site specifically. So, really focusing on safety and how to kind of choose a program for an AI platform, and then, of course, implementation after you decide which one that you want to use. So we're just going to kind of do a high level presentation today of the various components of how to select the system, what are currently available in terms of features and options within AI systems. So it's going to be a really good overview of AI specific to job site safety. So we also have on the call with us is Joe Malozzi, who is one of our business advisors for CEI. So, Joe, thank you so much for hopping on, and he'll be here as a resource as well. So, thank you, Joe.
Of course.
And we are recording this session, so if you have to hop off for any reason, that's totally fine. We're going to be sending out the recording link later today. And so you'll be able to review the recording and also forward it to whoever you think might be interested in this particular topic. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Also, really quick, wanted to let you know that I did open the chat to everybody. So you should be able to type questions in there. If questions pop up, feel free to type them. You can also just unmute and ask questions as we go through. So we definitely encourage questions and interaction throughout the presentation. So feel free to ask questions as we move forward here. All right. Oh, we got Jackie. Jackie's on the call too. Hello, Jackie, and so is Janelle. And hi, Lisa. We got the whole group here. Appreciate it. So today we're going to be covering some of the basic AI fundamentals. We'll kind of start at the basics of what AI is. Then we're going to specifically focus in on safety and different, I would say, different areas of progress within safety for AI, compliance automation. So we want to make sure that any programs that we implement or platforms that we utilize, that we can properly track them, streamline the documentation, credential tracking. We're going to talk about those issues. And then the implementation roadmap, I think, is probably one of the trickiest parts of AI, and maybe the one of the most confusing ones is selecting a platform is fairly easy and straightforward, but it's a lot harder to implement into and integrate it within your existing systems. So we're going to talk a little bit about some options there, how to progress through. Today's session will probably go up to 1 o'clock Eastern time. So if we end a little early, we'll definitely have time for Q&A if there's any questions. But again, feel free to ask questions as we go through. All right. So some of our learning objectives today, again, we want to understand what is happening in the field of artificial intelligence. Obviously, there's going to be various levels of companies that are going to utilize AI. You have small companies, maybe 1 or 2 person firms. You have sort of the mid-size range companies, maybe 20 to 50 employees, and then you have the larger firms that could be 100 employees plus. The good news is that there's AI solutions for every size firm. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how these cloud-based programs, so not programs that are, downloaded onto your computer, but platforms that you can access from anywhere through the internet connection, how that's really lowered the cost. They've really become more simplified. I mean, AI is moving at light speed. So every month there's new solutions, there's enhancement to existing solutions. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those different kind of progressions throughout AI and how those advances are increasing the opportunity for smaller contractors to sort of leverage what bigger contractors have been doing for a longer time. Second thing we want to do is we want to learn how to analyze real results. So data is really, when I think of AI and what it does for me, just in my role in my company, it just helps me analyze data much quicker and much more accurately. And instead of me having to go through all these different metrics or data points or data that we've collected over time, AI does that instantly and can also give you a really robust analysis of that data. So from a safety perspective, we want to be able to, okay, how can we take the data that we currently have and then interpret that data through an AI system to make these improvements in safety, risk mitigation, compliance, all of those different things. And then the third area that we are going to kind of focus on is going to be building implementation plans. So as I mentioned, that's for me probably going to be the trickiest part for new firms who haven't implemented AI is how are we going to implement it and integrate it within our existing programs and systems. What's our pilot plan going to look like? What's our budget for these platforms or the solutions? And then is our workforce, our current group or employee staff, are they going to buy into this? That's also a big piece. If nobody uses the platforms that you're adopting, that can cause even more confusion for the team. So instead of becoming more efficient, you actually become less efficient, more bulky, and we want to avoid that. So we're going to go through a lot of these different sort of introductory things. So AI fundamentals for small contractors, that's going to be a main focus for this particular segment of the presentation. And I would say, as I mentioned, AI is not just for big companies. So you think of the bigger prime contractors around the country. So you might think of a Suffolk or other larger firms that utilize technology and have adopted technology over the years. And it's pretty amazing the things that they've done with it and the streamlining that they've achieved with it. But it's no longer for mega companies or for mega projects. AI's really evolved and now it's widely accessible. There's tools for every size firm across all different price ranges that offers a whole range of benefits. So I think the vetting process, which we're going to get into a little later in the presentation, is a real critical piece because there are so many solutions. It can be overwhelming. So you want to pick the right one, the best one that's best for your company. Affordable for all contractors, as we mentioned. It's not only just affordable, it's accessible and for small and mid-sized firms. Simplified implementation, I think that depends on the solution. Some of them are easy to integrate within existing systems. So if you're utilizing an Office 365 suite and you're using Copilot, which is their AI agent, those are very easily integrated within all the other Office products. So that's a very easy sort of all-in-one solution that they all play nice together. I would say if you're bringing an AI solution that is not integrated currently into your existing systems, you would want to make sure before you adopt that solution that the implementation is possible and what that's going to look like and how that implementation plan will go. And then the practical benefits. So we want to look at what are we looking to achieve with an AI solution. Now, today's specific to safety, but you could think about it more broadly, anything that you do outside of just safety. But you want to make sure that for safety specific, how's it going to benefit me? What is it that I want to achieve with it? It could be hazard detection. It could be predictive analytics. So what are the potential risks of an accident moving forward in this particular project? And then, of course, compliance. As my employees, are they compliant? Are the certifications up to date? Do they have renewals coming up? AI is very, very helpful in these sorts of administrative type of tasks. Okay. So AI in construction. So three different things. I would say machine learning is really the basics. That's the system that all the data you're basically training the system to learn about your company or in this case, let's say it's previous safety data. The machine learning is taking all the data that you put in and trying to learn and analyze and develop information and extract information from that data. So it's learning from data patterns. It's making predictions based upon that data. The larger the data set, and of course, you want to make sure the data you're putting in is accurate. We discussed that in our last event that we did 2 weeks ago, is sort of garbage in, garbage out. You want to make sure that your data set is good quality data. And then what you get out of it's going to be more, I would say, accurate. And you want to make sure, in the AI industry, the data that is in there, and as it grows and you add more information there, it actually gets better and better and more accurate with its outputs. So it really does continue to learn, and it'll as it gives you outputs, you can basically rate that output as accurate, not accurate, good output, bad output, And then it continually learns what not only that you like and what you want, but also what you don't like and what's not correct. Computer vision, this is something that I would say is probably, even though small contractors could do this, and I'll give you some examples of how you could do this. Computer vision is a little bit more of a probably for mid-sized companies to larger companies, but this is where you literally have technology on the job sites, analyzing images. It's 24/7 on the site. It's essentially watching the job site in action. And then at that point, it's identifying potential hazards. It's making sure that the folks that are on the job site should be there, that everyone's properly credentialed, and it monitors job site conditions. And then you have predictive analytics. So this is the where I think you're going to get the highest ROI. As we know, having accidents on job sites is expensive. It causes increase in insurance premiums. It causes potential lawsuits. It causes claims. It's never, and it's just not good business, right? You want to maintain and run a safe job site, and you want to be part of safe job sites as a sub. But predictive analytics are really powerful tools, and these are things that are happening today, right now, that analyze historical data. They're going to forecast incidents, identify risk patterns, and then suggest preventive, kind of corrective actions so that you can avoid an accident before it begins. Okay. So some of the key job site safety concepts. No, let me make sure I did this one here. Perfect. Okay. So we want to make sure that we have the proactive hazard detection. So that's the identification of potential dangers before they cause accidents, and that's the continuous sort of real-time monitoring. Near miss documentation. This is where, especially with smaller contractors, we don't capture this data nearly enough manually. So there's going to be on a job site where there's what are called near misses. So no one got injured, but there was someone was in a risky situation and could potentially have gotten injured. Documenting those near misses, there's a lot of information there that you can learn from and prevent those situations from occurring again, and ultimately preventing future incidents. So near miss documentation is a real important sort of safety concept that AI can help you leverage. Compliance verification, this is making sure not only that uh, the staff have the correct certifications. It could be an OSHA 10, OSHA 30 card. It could be a certification related to whatever it is, some sort of safety of hazardous materials or chemicals. But more than that, it's also ensuring that, because when you can't be on all job sites at all times with eyes looking at everyone, although a camera can. And if that camera is a smart camera and is tied to an AI technology, then that camera can be scanning to make sure that the workers are following the proper safety procedures, maybe procedures that you tell the AI system that on my staff need to comply with these procedures on the job site. Also, are they wearing the proper PPE? Do they have the hard hats, the proper boots, the vests? What are they wearing if there's no one in compliance there? And beyond that, it can also check for other job site hazards, which we'll get into in a minute. And then, of course, the risk mitigation. So the whole point of implementing AI, aside for safety, aside from obviously making sure that everyone goes home with all 10 fingers, all 10 toes, you also want to make sure that you lower your cost associated with running a construction business, which we all know the insurance is outrageous, expensive. And so anything that we can do to show the carrier that, first of all, we have hopefully zero incidents. If we do have incidents, then these are incidents that we're learning from and that we're utilizing technology to, again, with the predictive analytics to help prevent incidents from happening in the future. So these are all things that insurers are now and underwriters are now starting to look at and consider to making these underwriting decisions about who's going to get insurance, who's not, and then what rate are we going to charge for that insurance. So obviously, the more robust of a safety program that integrates good quality processes along with technology could help to reduce that overall cost. So that's where your ROI is going to be recognized. We sort of mentioned this a little bit, but basically AI is accessible now. Even if you don't think you're using it, you're probably using it. Pretty much every system that you use, email, internet, Yeah, it all has AI components to it, especially even when you search Google. You know, Google has an AI agent that helps with Google searches, gives you breakdowns. So you're utilizing AI every day, whether you know it or not. And it's all basically cloud-based computing. So you don't have to download anything on your computers. You can access it from your tablet, from your phone, from your office computers. You can take it with you with the mobile technology. It's incredible how quickly they've moved forward with that. Plug and play solutions. So these are pre-built tools that integrate quickly without custom development. So as I mentioned, Copilot's a big one. Gemini with Google, a big one. Those are probably the most common. Of course, ChatGPT, all of those with the OpenAI is the company that owns that. So all of those big sort of players in the industry that work on these massive data sets. Those are the most common ones, but there's also smaller ones that are more niche, more specific to specific industries. And the idea there is, of course, that, okay, if you're a construction company and utilizing an AI data set that's construction related, like an estimating AI platform or something like that, those are all typically just plug and play. You don't have to really do anything, but again, you want to make sure that integration part is is going to be easy. You don't want a system that's going to slow you down. So some of the traditional safety procedures and processes that we've utilized versus how AI-enabled systems can alter the approach a little bit. But basically for conventional, and maybe you're doing a lot of the conventional processes now, which is fine. And then you can see how the AI kind of powered approach could help enhance that. But it's always been a manual safety inspection, paper-based documentation. And Joe, you're probably shaking your head right now, like, yeah, this is how it's been. Reactive incident response, limited data because you can't capture everything, and it takes time to analyze data. You're just trying to get through the day. Whereas an AI-powered approach is continuous automated monitoring. You have digital searchable records. As I mentioned, that predictive risk prevention, that's the huge piece for all this. Real-time compliance and then the comprehensive analytics, I would say not only just getting all of that data in one place, but also being able to analyze it, review it, and then AI systems can help you give you actionable outputs from that data, which is really, really important. So we're kind of in the perfect storm now. I always liken this to, right before cell phones were big. My first cell phone was an AT&T flip phone in the early 90s. I was just out of high school, and who'd have known? That was so proud of that phone. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And now, of course, you have mini computers that you take with you everywhere on your cell phones, and you're connected to the internet. I mean, my college had, I think, 5 computers in the computer lab. That was it. And the professors had this crazy idea of us only communicating with them through this thing called email, which was so annoying. Like, no, I want to go see you and talk to you in person. I still have that, by the way. I still like to have that personal interaction, but that's where we were in the early 90s. And things, it seems Joe's right there with me. And now, now it's like second nature, right? So in AI is really at, I believe, that stage. Like it's popular, people know it. Maybe people have a flip phone version of an AI, but in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the difference between the advancement of the cell phone and the advancement of AI is the fact that AI is advancing at factors upon factors faster than cell phone technology advanced. So we are literally seeing changes in the technology from almost a daily basis, but definitely a monthly to every 6 month basis. New systems, new processes, costs are going down, demand is through the roof for these compliance processes. You have insurance pressures because costs are going up. The rates of accidents are going up. So you have insurance carriers really wanting to make safety a priority so that they lower these claims. And then you have labor shortages. So we need to be able to do more with fewer safety personnel. So AI is really stepping in to be a solution for all of these sort of pain points that are coming, and it's coming in at a lot of different options. The technology is moving so fast, but costs are going down, and it's really enabling these smaller contractors like me and like you to integrate these, and now we can scale almost like a big firm, which is exciting. So again, the cloud-based advantages, most of these AI solution platforms are monthly. They're low upfront investment. You don't have to invest in these huge infrastructure builds. Automatic updates, they update everything for you. They're scalable, so you can start small and scale up. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I really encourage you to start small, I would just say focus very specifically on one task or one pain point within your business to implement an AI solution, work through that, make sure that implementation goes well, and then you can scale to other things. So you want to make sure the solutions are scalable, and we talked about that with the integrations, and then remote access. So that's the best part too. You can monitor multiple job sites from anywhere. So in this particular section, we're going to talk about kind of the safety in action. So what are some of the things that it does? And we touched on some of these, but PPE compliance. These may not be necessarily solutions that you need or even want right now at the maybe your business is not so big that you have 50, 60 people around a job site or on a project. But these are things that you might see if you're a sub on a larger contract or a larger project. You might see some of these technologies in place. So it's good to know about them. And then as you grow and then you want to become that prime, these are things that you could implement in your own company. But PPE compliance, fall hazards, making sure that job sites are all very dynamic, right? You could walk a site 1 minute, everything's fine. 5 minutes later, something happens. Someone knocks off a rail. Someone uncovers an area. Now there's a fall trip hazard. Maybe someone puts a tool on the floor that wasn't there before. So as I mentioned, it's hard for you as the supervisor or the project manager to be in all places at all times, all knowing and seeing everything that goes on. But there are technologies that can identify these potential hazards real time as the project progresses. And then equipment proximity, there's so many opportunities for injury when you have heavy equipment on the job site, especially roadwork projects, bridge projects, heavy civil construction, vertical construction, high-rise construction, all of those types. There's equipment everywhere. There's materials everywhere. Again, they're dynamically changing. You do your best, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's inner city. Urban construction is really, really tricky, tight spaces with a lot going on. So these are where kind of AI can help with these hazard detection. Computer vision sounds very futuristic, and it kind of is futuristic. Yeah, Janelle, thank you. Yeah, phenomenal J's. You got to get that drug screening and safety. Thank you. Um, you have image capture, as we mentioned. So this is basically cameras that are monitoring the job site. And I would say even for smaller firms, now the technology is to a point now where literally you could go in, you could just take pictures of a job site, it's a before you start the project, take pictures of that job site, load it into AI system. It could be ChatGPT, could be Abacus, any kind of AI system that you have. That's just sort of that chat feature, and it can analyze those pictures and say, okay, basically identify any potential hazards here. And the technology is to a point now where it can do that, and it can give you some pretty good data and information about first of all, potential hazards that it may see in those particular images, and also some ideas and procedures to help mitigate those risks. So that's where the AI analysis comes in. So it can, with those algorithms, it has the ability to, scan footage. It can do this with videos. It can do it with pictures. It can do it with video files. It can do it with regular paper files. So it can, and as you start, if you have historical job safety data, let's say you have OSHA reports or incident reports, you have a database of potential injuries that have happened, or you can get access to information like that. It can You can basically, some of these larger language models like ChatGPT or Copilot or some of the larger ones, it works on such a large set of data that it for sure has historical data of job site injuries already in there. You could develop, and Joe, you and I talked about this before we started, you could develop your own safety program there. You can basically tell ChatGPT what it is that you do, the projects that you're going to be going on to, and it can tailor very specifically a risk mitigation strategy, so things to avoid. It can tell you potential risks that you should look out for. It can develop a specific safety program for that project, not just a general safety program, but one for that project, which again, if you send that to your insurance carrier, they're gonna love that, you know. And also, it's gonna because it's working on such a large data set, it's gonna look at that those patterns that it sees, and it's going to help to create that safety program so that you don't repeat the same mistakes that have happened before. So that's the power of AI. Also, instant alerts. So if you have that real-time monitoring system, like I mentioned, if someone drops a tool and walks off because they forgot to pick it up, and now this is a big trip hazard and a lane of travel for a bunch of workers, it can instantly alert you or the safety manager or whoever is on the project, hey, this is a potential risk, and you can mitigate that risk right there instead of letting it sit there until somebody gets hurt. So a lot of different things, exciting things going on in the industry. Wearable technology. So, you got heat stress and fatigue detection. These are things that are happening. These are things that are happening now. So it can monitors, if the teams are getting hot, if they're stressed. Location tracking. I love that part of it. I live in Miami. The soccer stadium is going up right by the airport, and you see cameras. There are camera systems all over that job site. And so it's logging people coming in and out. It's logging PPE. It's logging, if they're wearing the proper vests, if there's potential hazards. It's all the technologies we've already discussed are all over that project, and it's helping them to reduce injuries on the project. And it's so far been very successful over there. And that is a complicated monster of a project in a huge space with a lot of subs. I mean, very, very busy job site. Impact fall detection, we talked about it. Biometric health monitoring. Again, some of these things might be more advanced than what you'll need for a smaller firm, but it's good to know. It's good to know about them. Two-way emergency communication. So again, AI is sort of changing the game here. Predictive analytics. It literally is seeing the future. So you're gonna as you adopt an AI system, you're going to continue again to put data into that system, train that data. If you're using some of the larger language models, or if you're using something specific to construction, typically they will have already trained that data on stuff relevant for your industry. So for construction, or if it's road work specifically, or whatever trade that you do, you want to make sure that that data set is of course comprehensive and specific to what you do. And it can help you to predict historical incident data based on weather patterns, times of the year, project phases, how many crews there are, et cetera. So it's pretty amazing what's going on right now in that industry. So it analyzes, as I mentioned, time patterns. So these are things that, as a seasoned senior project manager or an owner of the company, we kind of have all that up here, but not necessarily our teams, right? We don't, even though we've been doing this 25, 30 years, we might have staff that are fairly new to the industry. So this is a way, AI really gives us a way to kind of capture all of that legacy data and then interpret it and analyze it in a way that can share this information across the entire team, real time, accurate data. So again, high risk hours, environmental factors. So what potential risk if the weather changes, the temperature gets really high, like I've been in projects in South Texas where in the summer it gets ridiculously hot in those job sites. And so they have to have continuous monitoring of their teams. And Janelle, you'll probably, they have to have the IVs and it's you really have to be careful in these, either really hot temperature environments or on the flip side of it now with these really cold environments, or if it's wet or if it's windy. These are all conditions or icy or snowy that can cause a lot of risk on a site. Crew dynamics. So we can it's going to help us to kind of level out with experience levels, fatigue, how the teams look, how they're made up, task complexity. So what are high risk activities? What equipment might be used? What are the risk associated with all that? And then the historical data, of course, with the past incidents, and again those near misses, which are a critical piece to making sure that we have access to that data. All of this is just going to help us to pull together a safety plan, a safety strategy that's going to work. And again, the end of the day, we want everyone going home with all 10 fingers, all 10 toes. Uh, Automated safety reporting. Again, AI with data, that's what AI was built to do, was to interpret data and also to help you with, again, the predictive analytics. Um, Data safety reports, incident documentation, trend analysis, all of those things are really critical pieces that AI is going to help you with. Near miss logging. So again, as I was talking earlier, as small firms, we don't really, most of them, maybe you do it. Most firms just don't document near misses. They don't document things unless they have to. But it's important to make sure that if there is a near miss or something that you really want to make sure that data is part of your AI system so that it knows like this was what happened, this was the scenario, an incident did not occur, but it could have occurred. One thing that comes to mind for me, I was a project manager. This was a custom home that I was managing, and totally my fault. I was not wearing my hard hat when I should have been. I just popped in the job site for a minute. I wasn't even working that day. I'd go and grab something and run out. And on my way out, they dropped a piece of plywood from the roof, and the roof was 30 feet above the ground, and the plywood actually knocked the keys out of my hand. So had I been, 6 inches closer, or just different spot, I mean, that would have been done. That would have been the end of me. But that was a near miss. And so what could we have learned from that particular incident? Well, first of all, don't be an idiot. Don't go on the job site without your heart out. What could have helped to prevent that? Well, the job site with cameras would have identified me. I'm on this job site without a hard hat. And probably I would have been notified by my boss saying, "What are you doing? Get off my job site. You don't have a hard hat on." The other thing is that, well, we have a risky operation going on. We've got guys on the roof, which I didn't even see when I walked in because they weren't working on that particular part of the roof at that time. So all of those things, like you just think through all of that, and right there could have been easily been a death on the job site, just for me being stupid. And so the near miss logging, I think, is really important. And then let the AI systems again really enforce that in your safety procedures, safety protocols. And the other thing I would say, the reason I think I was not as smart as I should have been was I didn't have the proper training at that time. I was new to the industry. Although I was good at managing projects, I worked for a small firm at that time. And so the training wasn't really great. And I didn't really know the risks. So, but now I know. And I think now with AI solutions, it's just a lot easier to train staff for smaller firms. Yeah, Janelle, thank you. Yes, I definitely was happy to not be in 6 inches closer to that to that plywood. That was a crazy situation. But again with the near misses, complete picture, pattern recognition, all these things, we want to make sure that we want to capture this information. And it's really a cultural shift. We talk about these things are not to blame people. These things are to make our safety programs better, to to continuously improve what it is that we're doing. There are going to be incidents. Unfortunately, can't prevent all accidents or incidents on a job site, but you can be proactive. You can help reduce the odds of it happening, and ultimately, that's what counts. That's all we can really control is making sure that we're proactive and we're doing our best to maintain a safe job site and to train our staff to be safe. So kind of going into the third segment here, compliance and risk automation. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. These are just kind of basic stats of what small contractors sort of report in general related to documentation. So 40% of when it related to safety issues, it's kind of paperwork. AI can help with that. Compliance errors, percentage of contractors who face violations because there might be documentation gaps. AI can help you with that. Average fines, right? So OSHA penalties, again, for some of the larger projects where OSHA is monitoring, the fines can be significant. So when you're considering kind of ROI and you go from, let's say, the last 5 years, have there been any fines or penalties related to safety? That's information that you want to consider when you're determining, okay, will an AI solution eliminate that? That is again return on investment. So if I'm spending the money on this AI solution, but it's going to help me eliminate these issues that we've been having, then that's a positive metric that you would want to consider. AI assisted kind of documentation. So these are things that, again, kind of focusing on the compliance, automatic data capture, intelligent organization. So AI, like I mentioned, is built for data. It's built for compiling data, organizing data, analyzing data, giving you its opinion of the data that it's learning from. Gap detection. So that's also a big piece. I use that all the time. So I use it a lot of times for, let's say, proposal writing is one thing that I really use AI to help me with. So I'll take a proposal versus the RFP. I'll put them both in our AI system to analyze them. And then I'll basically say, where are my gaps? Where are my gaps here? What have I not answered in my proposal that the RFP is asking for? It sends me the analysis. Boom, I go back, fix it, and just continuously improve that. And it's really helped. You can do the same thing with your safety program. What am I missing? This is my industry. This is the program I have. These are the injuries that we've incurred, or maybe the injury history. What am I missing? So gap detection, and then report generation. That's the best. It spits out stuff that would take you hours. It spits it out in seconds. So these are all things that are happening, right? Just off the shelf, low cost AI solutions can do all these things so far that we've discussed. Credential tracking. So this is again just making sure that the credentials that are required for your project, and it could be contractually required based on your subcontract with the prime, or if you are the prime, then having these contracts or these certifications might be a requirement from your client. So this is just AI is a great way to track that. And I'll include it in the post-event email, but there are some free solutions for certification tracking, and I can put one or two in that email. Automate expression alerts. Again, this is just you could use a program that automatically alerts you and your team related to certifications that might be expiring or lapsing. Training compliance. So this again, if you have an in-house training program, then you could track attendance, you could do tests, you could basically have your record retention, all of the previous training. So if there are issues or if your insurance company requests it, it's readily available. Compliance reporting, so you can produce reports really quickly. Now the training part is so easy now compared to what it was before in terms of kind of tracking that training. And risk analytics. So as I mentioned previously, it's all about the data with AI, but it's also about how does that AI analyze that particular data, and then what are the conclusions that it comes up with, right, in terms of recommendations or actionable business decisions that you could, utilize in your business practices moving forward. So we really want, first of all, we want a really good data set. We want an AI system that is trained well on that data set so that its outputs that it gives you, whether it's going to be reports or safety programs or recommendations, we want all of that information to be relevant and specific to us and also accurate. Insurance premiums, this is all just numbers that you would just want to make sure that the AI, again, going back to the ROI, the return on investment for your AI investment, you want to make sure that it's going to result in some sort of either increase in productivity, efficiency, a decrease in premiums potentially. So you would want to reach out to your insurance carrier or to your agent and say, hey, if we, are there additional discounts available if we have a specific safety program, if we have an AI, let's say an AI monitoring program in place for job site safety, really try to get all of those things verified, because then you can utilize like any savings that you can get in a premium. You could kind of integrate that into an overall ROI decision. Is this really worth us doing this? Contract qualification advantages. So again, if this might be requirements from a contractor or sub or from the project owner. So are you meeting these safety requirements, let's say for larger projects? Is some of the scoring on the proposal? Are they considering some of these safety mitigation processes? So that could help you with getting more work through additional RFPs. And then just number three to me is relationship building. It really just shows if you're implementing safety technology and your clients know about it and you're educating them about why you're doing these things and what impact they have, it just helps to first it makes you look really professional. And also just helps build that trust with that client that, okay, this particular company really cares not only about its people, but also my project and making sure that everyone's safe. These are just some of the I would say higher end AI solutions that are out there, but you have spatial analysis. So it can identify kind of more dangerous zones. So maybe you have some safety personnel that are more specific in certain areas than in other areas. High risk times, conditions, and then different types of activities. Are there high risk activities going on? Maybe they're doing work with overhead high tension wires, or maybe there's an area of the job site that they're doing deep trenching that's dangerous, or maybe they just have a lot of heavy equipment on a specific area of the job site where there's a lot of traffic. So you want to be able to identify those areas. And we already kind of talked about the report automation, but AI is just totally built for that. Reports all day long. And then the last segment here, and then we'll kind of go through this a little quicker, is the kind of the planning and the adoption roadmap. So how are we going to implement, right, this program? Let's say if you don't have any AI solutions currently and you want to kind of research an AI solution, then implement one, and then train your staff on one, what does that journey look like? So I think the first thing is you want to assess your readiness. So what capabilities kind of do you have? Where are there gaps? You want to define your objectives very clearly. So what problem do we want to solve? And then what does that solution look like? What does success look like when I implement this program, right? So it could be, I want to go from, the 5 accidents we had last year to 0 accidents this year. Maybe that's what the objective is. Perfect. You want to make sure that's clearly defined. And then you want to vet the vendors. So you're selecting the technology, choose the appropriate tools. I can't stress that enough. You don't want to just pick the first, application or platform that you see. There's so many different options out there. Make sure it's the right one for your specific situation. And then once you kind of pick the correct tool and you feel comfortable with it, and at CEI, it's what we can help you in terms of if you have questions or you want to throw some ideas off of us, we're here as a resource for you as well. So please reach out to us. Joe put his information in there. But then it becomes time to launch the pilot. So you want to make sure that we're going to talk a little bit about what that will look like. So Again, pick something small, pick a small area, a small pain point, and then scale and grow from there. But if you start small, that's the best. And to me, the best strategy for implementing AI throughout your organization is start small and learn from that, and then you can grow. And then you scale success, as I mentioned. You're going to grow once you've hit your metrics and your targets. Understand the financial commitments obviously is going to be initial cost. What is the ongoing expense? Be very clear about that. Are you paying? It's going to typically be a monthly fee. Then what levels of services too are going to be important. So sometimes, they might have the basic, which is cheaper, but it doesn't come with as much features. And then you have all the way up to the enterprise level, which is going to be a more expensive option, but typically comes with all the bells and whistles. So you want to make sure that you evaluate what solution works best for you. What's the best fit? And then that ROI. And sometimes that's a little harder to know, but you want to make sure, is this going to reduce my rate of insurance? Is this going to help with my workers' comp? Am I going to save time administratively? That I can guarantee you, you will save time administratively with almost any AI tool you make or that you implement. So sort of make all those considerations and determine, hey, is it worth it to implement this at this cost if I'm going to save this amount of money? That's going to be your ROI calculation. And as I mentioned, start small. And feel free to negotiate terms. Sometimes these companies, they're being judged and graded on how many new firms, new clients that they can bring on board. So you do have leverage, and there's a lot of competition. So, and then track metrics. So you want to make sure that you have two or three really trackable metrics that you can go to and say, okay, is this working? Is this actually doing what we wanted it to do? Is this returning the ROI that we anticipated it returning? So those are things you want to have a clear understanding of, and then leveraging existing assets. That again is really critically important. You want to make sure that whatever solution you have integrates into that. If you have a Samsung, that you can get it on your Samsung phone. If you have an Apple iPhone, that you can put it on there. If you have tablets, you want it to integrate seamlessly. This kind of readiness checklist data, and I'll send this presentation out as well. So you're going to get a copy of this presentation and as well as the recording. So you can kind of look at this, but these are just some of the requirements that we would suggest when you're thinking about implementation for an AI solution. Really, you want to make sure that if it's a cloud-based system, which it's going to be, you want to make sure that you have internet access at the job sites, cloud storage capacity, that this also is in compliance with the regulations and if there's any contract stipulations with your current prime or subcontractor or project owner that it's in compliance. And they usually will be. Most of these solutions are ready to go. Yeah, the privacy and worker acceptance. So you just want to make sure that you're communicating clearly with the team. And I would say I would invite, and we're going to go over this in a minute, but I would invite the team into these implementation strategy sessions so that they feel like they're part of the decision as to, first of all, why are we doing this? Okay, what solution should we have in place? Or what solution should we choose? Which problems are we trying to solve for? And written policies, that's really key so that everyone's on the same page and understands what we're doing, how we're going to do it, what this implementation will look like, and then what are the results that we want to see, right? So, and then the legal compliance, again, most of the time that's not going to be an issue, but you want to make sure that you cover your bases. And then these aren't necessarily the ROI metrics or targets that you have to look for. These are just examples, but typical things, metrics that you would track to determine ROI would be incident reduction, time savings, again, going to that administrative time savings piece, and then payback period. When based on my incident reduction rate, maybe that results in a lower insurance premium, or at least not such a big increase every year. What does that look like in terms of dollars, time savings? What is our average, administrative cost per hour? You can calculate that. And then all that can be used to calculate your payback period. If I make this investment now and it's a monthly investment, when am I going to recoup? So these are just metrics that you want to set these targets. And we alluded to this already, which types of vendors to choose from, but you want to make sure that they're specific to your industry. So if it's construction, you want to make sure it's construction. As I mentioned, the large language models, the Copilots, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, all the big ones in the room, are all going to have a lot of construction data in there already, but they're not necessarily specific to construction. So if you wanted something very niche and very, very specific to your industry, there's going to be a solution out there for that. So I would look at both and then weigh your options. Um, Proven track record, integration capability, we already talked about. Pricing, you want to make sure is up front. They're not hitting you with surprise fees or usage fees or number of seats. You want to make sure that you're clear on that because there is a limit. So if you want more than one or two people on the platform, they may charge you extra. So be very clear on the number of users, and support quality. That's also really critical because if it continues to give you bad data or bad outputs, could be that the data that is there is not necessarily relevant to you. And so you want to make sure that you have support there that they can assist you if there's any kind of issues with the technology or and provide you with the training resources for your teams, etc. AI wash marketing, that's basically the tricks of, and it's such a hot area right now. People are just throwing solutions on the market that are really not AI based at all. They're just normal solutions that don't really have an AI component to it, but they're just leveraging that AI excitement and name to sell their products. So just avoid anything that has vague capabilities. They really don't give you any kind of accuracy metrics. That they're anyone that promises they're 100% accurate all the time is not true. And again, lack of transparency. So just this is all part of that vetting process that we talked about. And these are just some of the questions that you could ask a vendor. So again, some of these larger models, you're not going to necessarily be able to ask those things. But if you're utilizing an industry-specific AI solution for your company, they're always going to have technical staff there that should be able to answer these questions for you. And let's see. And then we've got workforce readiness. So, the technology, as it says here, is only as effective as the people using it. So you want to make sure that you have buy-in from the leadership. So if that's your executive team, that could be the owner. Maybe if you're the owner, then you want to make sure that the employees or the project managers that you have are committed to this process. Champion selection. So really identify that tech savvy advocate or advocates on the crews. You want your tech savvy team members to really lead the charge with this because it's going to be important. Training plan. AI can build that for you. So you want to make sure that you have the proper training plan in place. And then feedback loops. So you want to have, what is your process for continuously improving? So create channels for that input, that improvement to continually make the solution better, a better fit for you. Change management tactics. So again, this is going to be, we have our legacy employees. They don't like change. They don't want anything different. This AI, nah, it's not going to work. It's just another thing we got to learn. So you got to communicate those benefits. Really, as I mentioned, involve those workers early. Celebrate wins. So those who embraced it and they found a benefit from it, continually elevate those voices in the organization, and then provide support. So don't alienate the team. Let them know that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to bring issues to us, concerns. Maybe there's confusion, we need additional training, whatever it could be. Just have that patience because there's going to be a learning curve. Typically in construction, technology adoption comes very slow. Sometimes it's painful. So you want to be patient and understand this is going to be a long-term investment for us. And that's why you want to start small and then make sure that you grow and scale from there. Some of the training programs. So when you're developing a training program component, probably what you would want to include, obviously, is the executive overview. So what is the benefit? What's the ROI here? What's our timeline? Then you're going to get into the superintendent training. So how does this system work? How are we going to, what's the reporting look like? the crew orientation. So what's being monitored, we want to make sure that they understand what's being monitored and how this is helping them in terms of the job site safety. And then you really want to dig deep, get down deep in the details with the safety manager, because since they're going to basically own this, you need to be able to communicate clearly to them sort of what are the analytics we're tracking, what kind of compliance reporting is expected, what is the system administration going to be, who's responsible for what. All of those things need to be spelled out in this training program for this implementation to be successful. And again, for smaller firms, your training program is going to look a little different. And then your pilot project selection. So as you're selecting projects, so you want to make sure, this is a list of the ideal characteristics. So start with a smaller, what I call lower impact project. You want to make sure it's still typical of the work that you do, but start small and just avoid testing on anything that's really urgent, high risk, high stress projects. Anything complicated is not a good pilot project option. This is a suggested rollout for your pilot. So again, yours may look different, but I would definitely, when you're doing your implementation plan, put a schedule together of what your expectations are for implementation so that you can communicate that out with your team. Going to be an important part of it. And then measuring your pilot success. So you're going to have to pick which metrics work for you. So again, it could be a lower incident rate. It could be a lower rate of insurance. A premium, it could be whatever, it could be increased productivity administratively, all of those things. So you got to pick what's good for you and then get that feedback. Some of the challenges that you might see, again, false positives, expect that early on in AI integration. Worker resistance, so that we talked about the legacy workers may not want this. So we have a process to sort of communicate the benefits to that team. Technical issues are going to happen, which is why it's important to have that, a company that you choose that has a good tech support platform. And then alert fatigue. Again, Joe Malozzi can probably talk to this. We have a platform called Monday.com that we utilize for our workflow managements, and it sends alerts all day long. So we definitely get some alert fatigue, and we're trying to work through that because you don't want to get pinged every 5 seconds with another alert. So that's a real issue. And then scaling beyond the project. So again, start small, then start implementing into projects, make a couple of projects, and then regionally, then company-wide, whatever your pilot rollout plan looks like. This is just a suggestion based on a random company. So, but you would definitely want to try to spell that out for your team. And then building internal expertise. So get that AI champion, make sure they have access to training. Usually the AI platforms will have tons of training. So you want to make sure it's easy access to that. Peer learning. So let the team members work together to learn. I think that's also important. And then a continuous improvement process. We are going to have to be able to collect that data, analyze the results, adjust any settings that might happen that we need to fix, and then retrain users. This is for the implementation of the AI system. So you always want to have that, what we call it, closing the feedback loop, right? We get feedback, we see if this is working. If it's not working, we tweak it. Once we tweak it, we got to retrain, and then it starts over again. And it's always a process of iteration. So always that continuous improvement is a really big piece. These are just some things related to long-term success. We kind of already know these. Everyone has to kind of be on board with these. And then you have the future, right? So you've got the craziest stuff that will be happening. There'll be augmented reality, autonomous equipment, all these advanced biometrics. Stay tuned. All of that's coming. So just to kind of close, and I know we're going to be about 1 minute over, 2 minutes over, but AI is accessible now. That's the exciting part. We can really achieve a lot. Even small firms, one people firms can really leverage AI to increase efficiency. Start small and scale, and then really make sure that you have the people in your team are bought into it, and then that they are also well trained, and that they know that they can ask questions and give feedback to make that system better. So pull together your action plan. If you're ready to implement an AI system or platform, you can pull a plan similar to this, set achievable goals for each week, make sure that you're going through the process very, I would say, intently. You want to make sure that you're maximizing every step of the way to get all the information that you can to make the best decision for you and your firm. Um, Next week, we're going to continue on our kind of our AI platform here, our AI programs. So strategies for submitting like submittals and RFI turbo workflows. So we're going to really work next on the next member meetup, February 11th. You can scan the QR code. We're going to be focusing a lot on these submittals and how we can make these RFIs easier to produce, save time, save money, and then AI strategies to easily roll these things out. So that's going to be Wednesday, February 11th. So you can scan the QR code to register for that. It's going to be again our 12 to 1 slot. And with that, I will say again, thank you all for joining us. We're really excited about what AI can do for construction. So our goal here is to make sure that you have all the information that you need to make a really good choice. So anything that we can do to support you, like it doesn't end here, please reach out to us. And also, there's another QR code here. If you could scan that and just give us your impressions of how we did. So that's a survey. It's really quick, and it just kind of tells us what we're doing right, what we can do better, and really appreciate everyone coming today. Thank you for attending. I know your time is valuable, and we're just so grateful to have you on the session. Again, we'll be sending out the recording, and to my team who jumped on here, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it, and we'll see everyone on the next one. Until then, everyone have a great day. Thank you so much.